Hello, Lot here. Just wanting you all to know that this episode has been previously recorded and posted. So I hope you enjoy it or re-enjoy it.
Welcome to Close the Door and Come Here, a Game of Thrones A Song of Ice and Fire podcast with heavy leanings towards our two favorite characters, Jaime and Brienne. Hey everyone, this is Guile. I tweet at Door Podcast, and tonight I am joined by Chicky.
Hey, I am Chicky. I am at the Chikrin on Twitter.
And Eon.
Hey, this is Eon. I'm Eon Blue Negative on Tumblr.
And we're joined by one of our favorite occasional gents, Devin.
Hi, this is Devin GD Harpo on Twitter.
And in tonight's episode, we're going to be covering another one of our favorite chapters, although technically this chapter was chosen by our Twitter followers in a poll we had. This was actually the number one vote getter, and it is A Dance with Dragons Melisandre. So a completely new and exciting POV that we haven't really touched on at all.
Yeah, this is definitely somewhere we've never been before.
Yeah. And, obviously our standard spoiler warnings and trigger warnings, although I think we're cool. Trigger warning
one never knows. One never knows.
This is true. You never know where it might lead us. So we open the chapter with Melisandre praying in her chambers at Castle Black, and she's staring into the fire and sees a series of shapes and visions. Eyeless faces, towers by the sea, crumbling as a dark tide sweeps over them, shadows in the shapes of skulls that turn to mist, and bodies locked in lust, and through curtains of fire, great winged shadows against the sky.
Could those be dragons?
They could be dragons. She wants to see the girl again, the gray girl on a dying horse, and what she sees instead is a face in the hearth, and she wonders for a second if it's Stannis, but instead it's not Stannis, and I wanted to read, there's a couple longer passages in here that I wanted to read, just because I think that it's hard to summarize the language in some of these. So she thinks, a face took shape within the hearth. Stannis, she thought for just a moment, but no, these were not his features. A wooden face, corpse white. Was this the enemy? 1,000 red eyes floated in the rising flames. He sees me. Beside him a boy with a wolf's face threw back his head and howled. The red priestess shuddered. Blood trickled down her thigh, black and smoking. The fire was inside her, an agony, an ecstasy, filling her, searing her, and transforming her. Shimmers of heat traced patterns on her skin, insistent as a lover's hand. Strange voices called to her from days long past. Melanie, she heard a woman cry. A man's voice called, Lot 7. She was weeping, and her tears were flame, and still she drank it in. Snowflakes swirled from a dark sky, and ashes rose to meet them, the gray and the white whirling around each other as flaming arrows arched above a wooden wall, and dead things shambled silent through the cold beneath a great gray cliff where fires burned inside 100 caves. Then the wind rose and the white mist came sweeping in, impossibly cold, and one by one the fires went out. Afterward, only the skulls remained. Death, thought Melisandre. The skulls are death. The flames crackled softly, and in their crackling she heard the whispered name, Jon Snow. His long face floated before her, limned in tongues of red and orange, appearing and disappearing again, a shadow half seen behind a fluttering curtain. Now he was a man, now a wolf, now a man again. But the skulls were here as well. The skulls were all around him. Melisandre had seen his danger before, had tried to warn the boy of it. Enemies all around him, daggers in the dark. He would not listen. So there's a lot going on here.
There is a lot going on there.
Was there anything that really stood out to any of you?
Blood Raven and Brienne, the wooden face with the red eyes.
Yeah, and she comes back to them, but I did think it was curious that, there's even a part here where she thinks of Robb as the young wolf, and obviously she's associating the wolf with Jon, but she never associates the boy with the wolf's face as anything related to Stark, which I thought was interesting that she wouldn't at least think about that connection,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's interesting how she thinks of Bloodraven immediately as an enemy, which I totally get, but also, are they?
Right.
I really don't know.
And we see, some things that I think make a little bit of sense. We see, that we see the towers crumbling, and I think there's some different translations of that. The eyeless faces, which we'll find out in this chapter, the skulls, that turn to mist. But the bodies locked in lust was when I was like, I don't know what the hell she's seeing. Is there a theory of that at all?
I mean, I don't think it's Jaime and Brienne as much as I wish.
Right, like, what? Or if that, unless that's like ice and fire. I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe
When
that
I was
is,
reading it,
maybe that is John and Danny.
Yeah, that's what I thought while I was reading. I said, I thought, is that John and Danny? And then my next thought was, I really hope not. And I just kept reading.
So, we get to, our next part, we get Devon's namesake. Melisandre's servant is Devon Seaworth, and he asks her what she sees, and she tells him, as usual, much and more. But she seems troubled that she can't find Stannis, and she thinks, I pray for a glimpse of Azor Ahai, and Reller only shows me snow.
Snow with a capital S.
Yeah, and again, it's this, why, she seems pretty smart. Why is she not making this connection?
It must just be that she can't put together how John could be that. I think that's the only thing that holds her. But she definitely does know that it's John, though, because it's her POV and it's a capital S. So she knows it's John. She just doesn't know why, I think.
Yeah.
Just how much she believes in Stannis is, like, that caught me a little bit off guard. Like, I wasn't remembering, like, how much she actually believed what, they were doing. Like, she fully believes that Stannis is the guy.
And she's a little bit blind, she, I think you will get into some of it, how her blindness is, really, she's like the little finger of Reller in some ways, I think.
Yeah, but I have to say, I remember this when I read it, because of course, I'm sure you guys can imagine the first time I read Dance, like every goddamn new POV character, I just wanted to throw the fucking book. But it is interesting what he shows you, because she's been such an enigmatic character up to this point, and you kind of question, how much actual magic she's doing and everything, and it's like with this, you're like, shit, there is real magic here. There is, but at the same time, it's like almost scary how little she actually understands what she's seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. So she asked Devon to get her a drink, and she thinks that this is kind of the sweet part. I think this is the part that endears in this POV, that endears people to her the most. And she thinks about how Devon is half in love with her, but he's still not happy to be there. And that he was Stannis' squire, and he naturally wanted to go to battle with Stannis, but Melisandre kept him behind for Davos' sake. And neither of them would appreciate her gesture, but her flames have shown her that Davos is true, and she doesn't think that he should lose another son. And she thinks Devon is safer here than he would be with Stannis. And having read Ash's chapters, he probably is.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, funny that, not funny, but just, it's sweet that, she kind of, it's sweet that she is doing this for Davos, and that
it shows some humanity.
These human emotions.
I mean, I'm not saying she's not still a total asshole. She is, but clearly she's not completely devoid of, human emotion and empathy, quite frankly.
So she's thinking about the rest of her guards, and they sound like a pretty motley crew, but she doesn't care because Reller will protect her. And it's nearly dawn, but we find out that she barely ever sleeps or eats anyway, and that she fears to dream. And as she thinks about her fear of the dreams, she starts to think of these little snippets that we assume are from her past. Lot 7 and Melanie, and I think we assume obviously that's her name, and Lot 7 was the slave auction. So these are like her defining, even if she's like 300 years old or something, these are still like her defining moments. she knows that beyond the wall, the enemy is getting stronger, and she wonders if it was his face she saw in the flame. This is the great other. But then she thinks that it can't be, that he'd be more frightening. But she's sure that the wooden man and the wolf boy must be his servants.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting analysis about how, her thinking is very black and white, that if they're not servants of R'hllor, they are the enemy. There's no sense that there might be other forces that have the same goals as she does. Not necessarily saying that Bran and Bloodraven do. I don't know that we know that yet.
Yeah, but they're definitely not working for the other.
Yeah,
the other, right?
Right. I mean, we have the Whites gathered around the cave. The Whites trying to prevent Bran from getting to the cave. We have all of these, and we have all these incidents that would make you believe that no, they are absolutely not. They're not doing the great other's work, at least at this point. But she definitely sees you as either for or against. I mean, Davos is kind of like one of the, and Jon for that matter, are kind of one of the exceptions. But I think part of her probably assumes that, if they see her as being more and more right, they'll come around, more or less, I feel like. She's like, yeah, she'll use Jon Snow, but part of her, I think, assumes that he'll come around to her.
I assume that's because that's the type of thing that has worked with people like Stannis in the past. I mean, I assume that's why Stannis believes in her, is just because, results.
Right.
Yeah, she talks about that and how, particularly that Jon and Stannis are more alike than either of them would care to admit, and that what worked for Stannis will probably work for Jon.
It's interesting. We'll get into, how she's talking about her powers, but, when she's thinking about Jon Snow, he thinks, he's not going to come to her. He knows better than to come to her like a supplicant. But then, she thinks that he's foolish to still be living in the armory, and that, the trappings of power are part of power. And there's a few things where she's really politically savvy, and a lot of her worth, in this position seems to come from just political savvy that has nothing to do with magic. She's just been around the block a little bit. She kind of gets it a bit. She's quite clever, and you take away all of the magic, and she kind of makes a pretty solid advisor in some ways.
Yeah, well, it makes you wonder how many other powerful people she's been around before she got to Westeros. I mean, clearly she has a pretty clear understanding of that. And, there's so many things we still don't know, what the show did, showing her to be basically ancient and just, using a glamour. I think we can assume there is a glamour, but we don't know how old she actually is, or how, she could have lived through many rulers, and, it sounds like she's pretty high up in whatever the R'hllor clerical order. So, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting how many hints George gives you about what her past might be, and how they're about her more vulnerable past than they are about possibly her other leadership
true.
past.
We don't find anything, which would be interesting if he was going to write fake histories. It would have been kind of fun. To have a little Easter egg of Melisandre in some of the fake histories that he's put out. That would have been just even a little hint of a red woman 150 years ago would have been kind of fun.
So it would have been interesting, George.
So if Melisandre's in Blood and Fire, would you read it?
I pretty much resisted reading it, but
I almost bought it today.
I saw it in Target when I was in there and walked by it. Yeah,
I saw it at Barnes and Noble's the other day and glared and walked away.
Yeah, did you guys see did you see George's post today that it was, the number one bestseller, which big surprise, of course it was.
Yeah.
And
you weak fools.
Who's
enabling him?
We won't get wins today or tomorrow or next week, but wins is coming, which I was laughing because people are like, so next week in a day.
Sure.
Oh God, There's a lot of optimism, which I don't understand. People are, people really want what they want.
Yeah.
So Mel sends Devon to get her some food, And while he's away, she checks her pockets for all of her powders, and she thinks that she doesn't really need them at the wall because she's more powerful at the wall, and her spells are basically good enough. But the powders make her tricks seem more magical, which is again like that mixture of political and like just practical savvy along with like actual magic. And it seems like in the past or at some points maybe she has more or less relied on some of the tricks, and now she doesn't really need to she doesn't need that. She's pretty damn powerful on her own. And then next in the door, and again this is one of those chapters where basically like for the most part people just come into the room and the character's just standing there. It's like her office hours for a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate.
Is that you, Ian?
Yes.
You're blowing up over there.
Sorry.
So the Lord of Bones comes in, and she observes that he is cloaked in shadows, but he's not actually wearing his suit of bones. And she kind of scolds him a bit and tells him the bones protect him from the men of the watch, but he doesn't seem too concerned. Mel tells him be concerned about their eyes, not their knives. And the wildling taps this ruby glamour on his wrist, and there's a little there's a quick little passage. The glamour eye. In the black iron fetter about his wrist, the ruby seemed to pulse. He tapped it with the edge of his blade. The steel made a faint click against the stone. I feel it when I sleep, warm against my skin, even through the iron, soft as a woman's kiss, your kiss. But sometimes in my dreams it starts to burn and your lips turn into teeth. Every day I think how easy it would be to pry it out, and every day I don't. Must I wear the bloody bones as well? The spell is made of shadow and suggestion. Men see what they expect to see. The bones are part of that. Was I wrong to spare this one? If the glamour fails, they will kill you. The wildling began to scrape the dirt out from beneath his nails with the point of his dagger. I've sung my songs, fought my battles, drunk the summer wine, tasted the Dornishman's wife. A man should die the way he's lived. For me, that's steel in hand. There's a lot, I think, in this passage. I think we've kind of talked about, she thinks, men will see what they expect to see. And it's funny because we literally see her kind of falling for that same trap, where she's seeing what she expects to see, or she's turning what she sees into what she hopes she sees in the flames. So it's interesting that she doesn't really see her own weakness quite yet, and we see it even more blatantly later on. But I thought, the reader, I think I don't know if the reader necessarily, we don't know for sure it's Mance, but for the purposes of this kind of discussion, this is Mance. Surprise.
Yeah.
There was this interesting thing, when you think about Mel and John, I was thinking, they're both slaves, essentially, to one order or the other, and Mance is really the only free person here, and she seems like kind of offended that he's not just like there's this aspect of the glamour being kind of like slavery, and she's a little like taken aback and like, she thinks even like, have the others touched him, because he's not like super submissive, and he's not just willing to do whatever they say. Like he actually keeps like a sense of his free will, and it was interesting. Like I think she can't relate to him at all. Like she has no idea what that is anymore.
Yeah, that could be part of it. I mean, it's interesting kind of how she relates to everyone around her, because it doesn't seem like she, it's like earlier I was like, oh, she does have empathy, but it's like, it doesn't really seem like she identifies with anyone though. I mean, it's kind of like she's like a little bit alien to everybody that she interacts with. I mean, as far as like understanding how they, I mean, it's like she can pick out things about them and how they work, but at the same time, she doesn't seem to feel like she works the same way that they do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's not anywhere more true than it seems to be with with Mance. And I don't know if it's just partly because we see this a little bit with Stannis and Jon, and partly because Mance is used to, not just being, quote unquote free, but I think, calling so many shots, having a position of power, and therefore he's a little bit more difficult to
Well, and I think he's made his choices.
Impress.
And he's also kind of made his choices in life. Like, he's made the choices. He's kind of decided, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to be bound by, Mel had to be, pretty young when she's in slavery. Jon was 15 when he joined the Watch. Mance was a child. Wasn't he like an orphan boy that was essentially like, well, now you're in the Watch? And like, he's the only one who, there's a certain strength of character that says, nope, I'm done with this. And, I'm following my own way. And, there's a few characters in the story that have that. And I don't know that Melisandre can relate to that thought even. Like, it's just never a thought that would cross her mind.
It's funny because I don't think she thinks of herself as enslaved, though, at this time. She doesn't see it that way. It doesn't seem like. There's
a line where she talks about, something, when her enslavement to the house, to the Red God starts, like, or when she's sold in slavery to the Red Temple or something like that. So I think, I think she has the power now, but she is, it would never occur to her to just be like, I'm gonna just not be a priestess anymore.
Yeah, on the other hand, she's a real believer because clearly there is actual real power in what she's doing. So I think there's a combination of all that. But I think back to your point, I think what it is with Mance, I think more than anything, it's just, Mance doesn't care if he dies. There really isn't much that, there's really no great leverage that she has with him. She's like, don't you want to not get caught? And he almost doesn't seem to care that much if he gets caught. It's like, I think that's part of why she just can't figure him out.
Yeah. So she tells him that the enemy is moving and that the rangers Jon sent will return dead soon with blind and bloody eyes, which is the work of the Weeper. And Mance thinks that's bad news for, basically bad news for any alliance between the men of the Watch and the Wildlings. And Melisandre, she pretends to care, but the truth is that she sees that the Wildlings are destined to vanish from the earth. And, she chooses not to share that with Mance.
Wasn't that like, it was like just like a line drop from her, but it's just so like chilling and heartbreaking in a way.
Yeah, it's, there's always Gilly. She's far south. She asks him how far or how well he knows the North, and together they try to piece together where the girl in gray is so they can try to save her. And they figure out she's near Long Lake and, cleverly keeping away from the King's Road. But then they're interrupted by the horn. And I think George does this wonderful job of the moment of suspense, really as the whole castle is waiting, to hear another blast or, God forbid, 2 more blasts of the horn. But it ends up just being one. And, Melisandre's like, yeah, it's those dead rangers. So she leaves Mance in her chambers and goes to the tunnel under the wall to the other side, where the men are gathered around 3 spears, and upon each is impaled a severed head. And it's Blackjack Bulwer, Harry Hal, and Garth Greyfeather. And Dolores Ed has this great line. I hope the Weeper burn the bodies, said the dour man, the one called Dolores Ed. Elsewise they might come looking for their heads. He's the best. Bowen Marsh starts complaining to Jon that they should have never sent out rangers, and Jon warns him that this is not the time or place to say that. So it's like a little interesting bit of foreshadowing about his discontentment and betrayal. And then Jon asks Melisandre to walk with him back, and they walk back through the wall. And it was this little funny bit where she starts walking deliberately slow, and where she walks, the ice will begin to melt, and she just wants to make sure everyone notices. So way to put on a show by her. John asks her if she knows what's happened to the rest of the Rangers, but she doesn't know. She tells him about the vision she saw of the towers, and she makes this assumption that it's Eastwatch, although, she knows it's the towers, and she's been there, and she knows that the towers in her fire aren't the same, but she's just kind of saying this to please John, which is really, really interesting. Again, she's kind of breaking her own rules here.
This is like the most unsettling thing about this, how it's like, it's not that she doesn't know something, because she does. It's just, she just is like the willingness that she has to just guess.
Mm-hmm.
And like, sometimes they aren't even the most educated guesses.
Yeah. Like she's just, it's kind
of
confident
lazy about what she's guessing. And she's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. For some reason, it really pisses me off that she will just kind of wing this shit. And I don't know why it bothers. I think it's because she actually does have power.
Yeah.
And then I feel like she's just really irresponsible.
Because I think, isn't the most popular interpretation that it's like the Citadel that she's seeing? Or like something in...
Is that it?
I have no clue.
The Citadel, or like something in the Reach, like wherever the high towers are. Like the family, not the that she's.
Well, that would be the Citadel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never, I don't know that I've ever
dark tide
looked into it
like
much.
She's seeing like urine, basically.
Yeah. Oh, clearly it's Euron. Yeah. Clearly it's the Ironborn. But yeah, I don't know. I've never looked too much into like much about her visions. Like pretty much everything in Dance, I've just kind of ignored a lot of it. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know why it couldn't be. Yet again, though, I mean, it's like, if your goal is to, like, gain yourself some credibility, why not, like, take a minute or two and really think it through? And, like, you can put John off. I've seen something. I'm investigating. Kind of lead him along.
Oh, yeah,
that is funny because...
And then she's just like, yeah, Eastwatch.
Yeah, sure.
Even though that won't have any implications.
Like, the towers this time were different from last time, but you know what? Eastwatch, sure.
So another like deep dive thing that we discover in this little passage is that apparently there's like a little couple that we did not know about. There's Elf of Runnymud, who's one of Melisandre's, or one of the Queen's men. He's pretty broken up about Garth Greyfeather's death, and he wails when he finds out about it. And John tells Three Finger Hob to put him to bed and give him some mulled wine. So I've just interpreted that. I mean, they're totally a couple. He's like, Garth
he was
would never,
distraught.
Yeah, and he's like, Garth would never, let that happen to him. So. A little tragic romance on the side there, which was just very like bizarre to have in there. Like it's like 2 sentences, but I guess we're adding flavor. We don't have an editor at this point, so everything's in.
Everybody gets a fully baked storyline if they show up dead or not.
Yep.
Nothing is taken out.
So, no, I'm pretty sure literally nothing was taken out of this chapter. So Mel asks John to come to her chambers, and he agrees, and as they walk together, she thinks how she can literally feel the mistrust pouring off of him. And, she thinks he doesn't love her, but he'll use her. And it reminds her of her early days with Stannis, and she thinks about how much alike they are. And she thinks, this is just a short little passage. Stannis had been a younger son, living in the shadow of his elder brother, just as Jon Snow, bastard-born, had always been eclipsed by his true-born sibling, the fallen hero men had called the Young Wolf. Both men were unbelievers by nature, mistrustful, suspicious. The only gods they truly worshipped were honor and duty. I mean, you guys, I don't necessarily think this is an accurate description of Jon. What do you think?
I don't.
Like it's this
Stannis, yes.
Yeah.
Jon, not so much.
I feel like Jon is a believer by nature. He is trustful, and he's not really particularly suspicious.
Well, I think how much of this is just when she's meeting Jon. I mean, Jon is becoming, Lord Commander Jon at this moment, and he's just not really himself outwardly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I kind of disagree with it too, in a way. I mean, like, he just, I would never have described John as having the same feelings about Rob that would even come close to like Stannis felt about Robert.
For Robert, yeah, no.
Yeah, it just seems like it seems very superficial, and basically, they're both the second kid. They must be exactly alike. I wonder if it's like is this an age thing with her? Like, as she's getting older, she's just kind of getting lazy with her prophecies and with her thoughts.
Oh, like just second child, so this is who he is.
Or just like her in general. Like, if she is, a really old woman, where she's just like, ugh, yeah, I've seen all this before. I know how this is gonna work, and
maybe that's it. Maybe she just doesn't think it matters. Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, there seem to be things she is very interested in, but. I mean, I don't know. This whole thing, it's so funny. I'm just sitting here as we're talking about this, and I'm just like, I know why George included this chapter. I know that he wanted to establish, Mel as a POV character going into Winds, and I know that he wanted to make sure that he didn't kill John, and people didn't perceive it as him killing John and then changing his mind when he resurrects him. He wants us all to know that he has the groundwork laid, because he's telling us about this, John is a man and a wolf and a man and, back and forth. But I'm always like, does he want another POV to reveal something new about someone, or, but that just doesn't seem to be the case with her. I don't know. It's just so interesting.
I mean, I feel like she's a POV because he needs POV at the wall, and, didn't send me on there.
Yeah. Or anyone else, I'm fine with it. Like, I like Melisandre's chapter. It's interesting in a lot of ways, but again, the frustration, the branching for no good reason.
So, Melisandre thinks that John hasn't asked about his sister, but then he tells her that he has no sister, that he put his kin aside when he said his vows, and that he can't help Arya now. And So they finally get to Melisandre's chamber, and the wildling, who John is still seeing as Rattleshirt, is there eating, which he's been eating like a long time, by the way. Like, she went down to the the ground level, went through the wall, hung out with like the guys on the spears, came back,
it wasn't
through
that
the wall,
much food.
up, and he's still eating. So like so what we know is that Mans is a really slow eater. And the bread's still warm. So like, again, like, this is gonna go down into like, the classic Reddit post about how hot the Dothraki must make their soup in order for it to melt gold quick enough for Drogo to pour over Viserys' head. Like, Three Finger Hob must bake like incredibly hot bread for it to still be warm after all of this. Especially when you realize like it's cold out.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be cold. Even inside at the wall, It's gotta be cold.
Right, the bread is still warm. So unless that's like one of her perks, is that like the food that she's around always
fire.
Yeah, so. Like it always
her
stays
entire
warm.
room is fire. She keeps it super hot in there.
And yeah,
it's an oven.
Her room is basically an oven. She's cooking up plots. This makes sense. Okay, so. He tells John that he should have sent him with his rangers, and John says that he would have betrayed him. And, quote-unquote, Rattleshirt responds by reminding John of his betrayal of Ygritte, which, those are fighting words. Then he gets on with it, and quote-unquote, Rattleshirt tells Melisandre that he'll need horses and some of the spearwives at Molestown, since the girl will be more likely to trust other women, but then also, like, he mentions, and because of some, plot I have going on, which I thought was really bizarre. Like, because at this point, he doesn't think he's going to Winterfell. He thinks he's...
Does he, though? We don't really know.
He's, like, going on, like, by Long Lake looking for a girl on a horse. So it's just, so it's like, that's what I didn't really quite understand. Like, that was bizarre. John doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And, Melisandre tells tells him that, yeah, I know you can't help your sister, but this guy can. And John's like, oh, hell no. Rattleshirt is a big old piece of shit. Like, he is not getting near my sister. And, that leaves Mel with no choice. She tells Devon to leave, and then she touches the ruby at her neck, and we get this kind of fancy passage here. The sound echoed clearly from the corners of the room and twisted like a worm inside their ears. The wildling heard one word, the crow another. Neither was the word that left her lips. The ruby on the wildling's wrist darkened, and wisps of light and snow and shadow around him writhed and faded. His face and stature change, and oh snap, it's Mance. And John is like, what the fuck? And this is like near the end of the outline, if you guys have noticed, where it just pretty much just turns into whatever. Melisandre kind of gives the big reveal that she burned Rattleshirt in Mance's place, and she purposely makes it sound really simple so that she seems more powerful in their eyes. But she thinks to herself about how hard it was to do it, and that when the flames started burning Rattleshirt, the ruby at her throat grew so hot that she thought she might burn too. And she was only really saved when John killed Rattleshirt with an arrow instead of letting him burn to death. So she presents Mance as a gift from the Lord of Light. And she's basically like, we have his son, and he owes you, John, his life. So, he's going to go save Arya, and you, John, can keep your vows. And, this seems like a perfect plan, and I'm sure nothing's going to go wrong.
Oh, yeah. Of course not. Didn't you, when she was saying the thing about how they all heard different words, I was like, is this Yanni and Laurel?
Oh, God.
Doesn't it sound like that?
It totally is. Oh, God. Oh, that's stupid. Was that, okay, here's my question. Was that this year?
Yeah.
I don't know, if things happened this year or if they happened, 10 years ago.
This year's been about a decade long.
Right, someone said the Winter Olympics were this year, and it was like, oh my God, I legit can't even remember any of it. And then, the royal wedding was this year. I kind of feel like that was this year, but the Olympics certainly don't feel like this year. I can't remember who won the Super Bowl.
Oh, fuck no. Well, did I ever know?
Was it 6 years ago? That's what it seems like. Yeah, it's... Who the hell knows? It's endless. Anyway. So yeah, that it also reminds me of that little passage kind of reminds me of the way Varys has talked about things too, those kind of magical words like that. And I know that's more of a show invention, but that felt like kind of it had that same feel of it to me. So when you read this, if you were gonna, I feel like we've talked about a little bit how Mel doesn't really see things in shades of gray. But, how do you guys see Melisandre after this? Do you see her as more of a white character or more of a black character? I think accepting that, obviously she's really a shade of gray, but, after having read her POV, is she more one of the good guys or more one of the bad guys to you?
I don't know if I really recategorized her morally. I think it was just kind of refreshing to find out, how human she was behind it all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But she's done some really horrific shit, and there's just no way around it. Burning people alive on the regular is just just a whole other level,
As Jaime fans, we've obviously talked about the characters like him that maybe have done something wrong for the greater good, and if it comes down to it that I guess it'll all come down to what happens with Shireen, that the horrific act that's ultimately for the greater good.
See, sometimes I'm glad we're never going to see wins. And it's when you say things like that, I just don't even want to know in so many ways.
Do you think that, just a question about wins, do you think that John's going to be, quote, dead for most of the book? Because I kind of feel like he is. Because I don't know what he does if he's not.
I mean, knowing George, yes. Should he
Yeah.
be to get the series done? No.
No. Yeah, exactly. He should be dead like 2 chapters. Maybe.
Yeah, like maybe
But he will probably
20% of the book
until the epilogue.
Although I suppose he probably has to be alive before, if we think the wall falls, he probably has to be like fully alive before that happens. Unless like maybe he's better off in like wolf state at that point.
Yeah, they could just drag his frozen corpse behind him as they run away from the wall.
Right.
Oh, I forgot that he has corpse. I was just thinking like he was literally turning into the wolf. I kind of forgot that they were 2 different like physical things.
If
Like a weekend at Bernie's, but the wolf like carrying him.
Weekend at Bernie's. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Happens again. Somewhere D&D are like, we told you.
If she's as powerful as this chapter has hinted at, he shouldn't be dead long at all.
Right.
Like, she should immediately be able to bring him back.
But she's never brought anyone back, right? Like.
Oh yeah, she hadn't done that.
Or that we know of, I guess. You know, who knows in her past if she has. But yeah, it's not something we've seen her do.
Thoros can do it, surely.
Right.
Well, he's pretty shocked by it, though.
Well, and Barrick does it, you know.
And Barry, yeah.
I just, yeah.
God. So this is, you know, I probably think I've talked about this before. It's like, I love the fantasy genre, but I actually hate magic. One of the things I like about A Song of Ice and Fire is how muted the magic was for the first few books. I think that was one of the reasons that I really liked it. And so, yeah, this is why as we get into dance, I get more and more kind of pissed off. I fucking hate magic. It's cheating. I fucking hate it.
You want to have consequence. You know, you want to have like actual real consequences for things.
Yeah, and I want to have people not be overpowered and shit, you know?
Yeah. Especially in a world that was set up where overt magic wasn't really a thing.
Yeah. And what's funny about it is I think George was leaning that way and was kind of pushed back toward magic. And it's just like, ugh.
Well, and it's weird when you have characters, you have characters that clearly have magic, magical animals or magical powers, and, eventually pitting them against characters that have none. And, it's just, it's not really particularly interesting to, it's not interesting. It's like, I know the show was praised for the episode where Jaime had the Lannister forces against the dragon, but, like, that's not really a interesting fight. Like a dude on a horse against
no world.
Yeah, like
would they ever get out alive.
Right, like where's the?
But yeah, let's just jump into this river with all of our hormone.
Oh God,
because that's plausible.
Or even our like some of our other characters that we've met, like the like the Ashas of the world, like there's she doesn't have any special she doesn't have any special powers or special magic or neither does Brienne, or really neither does Sansa at this moment. And it's interesting because it feels like those are some of the characters being set up to be important after whatever happens, and yet it's hard. It's like how are they part of what happens?
What happens? Yeah.
Yeah, like if
it's very clear the characters that will be like the Brands and even John on some level, but and Dany of course. But,
well, I mean, I guess Jaime and Brienne potentially have have a magic sword, but against everything that seems like an awful puny weapon.
Goddamn magic.
We'll find out. You're a wizard, Jaime.
I'm a what?
Oh God.
It'll be amazing.
God, I'm beginning to get just more and more like maybe we should just be thankful we'll never read Winds. I mean, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's where I'm at now. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's good.
It's just you've come to like acceptance, basically.
I've reached nirvana.
Yeah.
With this. I haven't. Yeah. I really haven't.
So, we did get, so do we, I know we have a piece of mail, Ian, if we want to get into that.
Yeah, we got one on Tumblr from Theon Grey King. And it says, "Hello, ladies, and maybe a gin or two. I'm really enjoying the favorite chapter episodes. I just wanted to say that Knights of the Kingsguard can and have been hands of the king before Cersei wanting Jaime to be hand was not that weird. Sir Criston Cole is the most infamous example. He was hand to Aegon too, just two awful dudes being awful together." Love you, ladies. Keep up the good work. Now, if you don't want fire and blood, spoilers, stop reading now. But I have discovered something that probably means nothing to anyone else in the fandom but a daughter of the Even Star of Tarth married into House Harlow. And now all I can think about is that Asha and Brienne are related, and that makes me very happy for some reason.
Me super happy, too.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah,
I knew that. I knew that there was the thing about the Even Star having triplet daughters. But
yeah, I heard the triplet thing.
What houses they married into. So that's awesome. You know, 'cause
that is kind of awesome.
I feel like there are certain houses that George obviously really likes. Whether that means like they're all killed or not is an entirely different thing. But obviously, I think, you know, House Harlaw is going to be a special favorite of his. You know, a writer doesn't create a character called the Reader if he doesn't like him. Yeah. You know, like, no. I feel like you're kind of saying this is, you know, you might as well just put like a banner on his head. Good guy.
He's the one.
Cool dude. We also had a request to talk shit about the notes that the script notes that were released from some of the old Game of Thrones episodes. And I think, Chicky, you were especially, you were kind of especially intrigued by the notes for The Lion and the Rose, which is...
I was more amused than anything. Yeah, I'm assuming most people know, but yeah, Joanna Robinson has basically been reading like the scripts that, I don't know if it was Benioff or Weiss, one of them has donated to some film school library or something somewhere. And they included in the donation some of George's original scripts. And like, they really changed George's script for, I guess it was season 4. It wasn't episode 2, The Purple Wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, they really changed it because George had some wild shit. And to me, like, the absolute most off the wall crazy thing that was in it was that he wanted Oberyn Martell to try to perform like a medieval tracheotomy on Joffrey when he started choking.
Which, like, why would he?
I don't know. I don't know.
And I mean, yeah, he's a maester. He went to school. He might realistically know that, but like, I don't feel like Oberyn would be particularly invested in, in saving Joffrey.
Well, we haven't seen any tracheotomies before. I feel like I would be surprised if they even understood how to do that for starters. And just like everything about it was just like so over the top. I was just like, oh my God. I just like can't imagine like Benioff and Weiss's faces when they read that. Like they must have just been like looking at each other going, is he for real with this?
I did read that there was originally a little conversation between Tyrion and Jaime where Jaime asks Tyrion to give Sansa to Brienne.
Yeah.
And then Chicky found like the most disturbing one though, which is the Ramsay dog thing.
Yeah, well that was really something. So apparently I think in denial. If I'm remembering correctly, as they presented the episode in the season, it's just entirely the purple wedding, right? There aren't any scenes anywhere else.
There's other scenes.
There are? Oh, yeah, okay.
It's mostly the purple wedding.
George wrote the scene of Theon and Ramsay chasing a girl that it was actually in the first episode of season 4, right? They moved it to the first episode. Yeah, so anyway, George puts in like an aside where he says, definitely feature Ramsay's girls, his hounds, his dogs, because they're going to face off against the Stark direwolves. P.S. Big spoilers here. So, like, natural deduction, if they're going to face off against the Stark direwolves, like, when's that going to happen? Clearly, Ramsay's not about to be killed by Stannis. So
Yeah, no, it's wrong.
yeah.
100% denial here. Like, that has to be wrong.
I mean, why would he write it in?
Well, like, what does he mean, the Stark direwolves? Like,
yeah,
what the hell is he talking about? Numeria's wolf pack?
In what world
so it has
would
to be
hounds have a chance?
Right.
Dude, I don't know.
Or is this just like some shaggy dog full-on like bullshit?
Fuck out of here.
But my thing is, how much longer would Ramsay have to survive in order for there to even be two Stark direwolves in the same place at the same time?
Right.
I mean, like
the last book.
Yeah.
So
and like, what's the whole? Asinine. If that's the case, what is the entire point of the Winterfell plot in A Dance with Dragons? Like, it would
fucking know.
Yeah, I'm just because he would have to win that.
Right.
That is. Get out of here.
Well, I'm like, what if the fucking pink letter is what it is? I'm like, I don't know. Just like, all right, I'm out. It's just like, I quit.
If the pink letter is what it is, then why wouldn't he have Theon?
Jesus Christ, I don't know. I don't know any
I like that we're like all like equally really upset about this. Like, I'm more upset about this, frankly, than I would be if, make sure that Jaime does this because he's going to die in this horrific way. Like, yep.
Which might be in there for all we fucking know.
Yeah, which, I'd be like, yep, okay, that, makes sense, but this makes no sense to me, and I'm just assuming that he's fucking with them.
Well, see, I just was so convinced that the show had created a big bad out of Ramsay that slightly existed, but I was like, Ramsay's not going to be this, much at the forefront in the books, but maybe I was fucking wrong about that.
I mean,
feeling like I was.
Like, change your mind, George. Like, we know you haven't written the book yet, so it's not too late. So, good God, but don't do that. That just seems, just really, really upsetting. And
I just don't know if we can trust anybody with this story, really, really, to be frank with you. I'm not sure.
Not even George R.R. Martin. I don't trust you with this shit anymore.
Sorry.
It's time to leave it up to the fix.
Okay. Anything else, anyone, before we put this one to bed?
Yeah.
Oh,
Melisandre. When she's talking about the glamour, and she's like, the bones remember, the strongest glamours are built through such things. A dead man's boots, a hank of hair, a bag of finger bones.
Yeah.
She glamour Davos?
Yeah, she's clearly talking about Davos, but like, why would Davos be a glamour?
That's what I do not know.
Well, maybe like bags of finger bones are more common than
because everybody has those just on their person.
I feel like they're not.
Well, and Davos doesn't have his bag of finger bones anymore. Remember, like he lost that. So
yeah. So is she implying that she's got someone somewhere pretending to be Davos because she secretly had the bag?
Or that she still has it and is planning on using it later or something? Like, what is
that? Could be. That may very well be. Who even knows? Well, we'll never know.
Yeah. I mean, if there's two Davoses, that would be kind of awesome. But I mean, really.
I
mean, we got like fake Arya.
Spider-Man thing.
Yeah. What'd you say, Devin?
All I can think of is Davos running into himself and doing the Spider-Man meme. With a hand with not all his fingers.
Oh yeah, it would just be like half of a finger point.
Is this chapter before, like, because I know in this book, this is where Davos goes to see the Manderleys.
Yeah.
And they kind of fake his death. And for a while, you think he's dead, and then he shows up.
Yeah.
Is this like a chapter that's before that?
Yeah, it must be before that.
I'm looking because I have all my chapters marked with like.
Yeah.
But when he goes to White Harbor, he already doesn't have his finger bones.
Right.
He's been missing them for quite a while, so it's like we know this is Davos.
Maybe she has them in one of her pockets.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of pockets.
Although, I mean, he lost them at the Blackwater, didn't he?
Yes.
So unless she went like deep sea diving.
She's got a lot of magic.
Do we put it past her?
That'd be awesome if she just pulls on like a scuba mask.
I agree with Devin. It was a weird thing to be just like thrown in there, and I never remember noticing it before. I'm sure there are 50 threads about it on Warg or on Reddit, but like I've never heard anything about it before.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just it might be like a common thing. Like all the thieves get their fingers chopped and then they all wear them around their.
I just keep them around my neck.
Like the big ugly gold medallion of Westeros.
It's like the rabbit's foot of Westeros.
Oh, I like that better. Yeah.
Yeah, those Davos chapters are before this.
Yeah,
like Davos 4, where they have the whole thing with Wex and him telling him about Rickon is like 2 chapters before this.
Funny. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
So maybe it's a little bit of misdirection or something too, but
right.
Who the heck?
Or something.
Yeah. Who the heck knows? Who knows any of this shit anymore?
Clearly not us. Right. I'll tell you that right now.
I kind of like, when you read these chapters again, it's like you kind of forget what's in them and then you read them again. And I was like, oh, maybe there'll be some more illumination from her chapter this time reading it. Nope, not at all. Nope. I feel completely unilluminated, except that I think that she's like a super lazy prophetess. She's like the me of prophecy.
After this discussion, that's what I feel like now.
Yeah, she's the me of prophecy. It's directionally correct. Sure, it's tower.
Close enough.
It's literally actually, that is actually what I would say. It's probably directionally correct.
Well, she says she's probably one of the most powerful red priestesses. Can you imagine what the other ones are like?
What the other ones are doing? Yeah.
Right.
Nobody's right about anything. Ever.
Why can't we get like one like crappy red priestess? Oh, that'd be more fun.
In a way, don't we have one?
Yeah, I guess. Like crappier. I feel like she'd be fine if she applied herself. Like her performance evaluation.
That's the thing. She's not trying. That's the problem.
Right. She's not trying.
Her evaluation would be like not detail oriented.
Jumps to conclusions.
Because by all accounts, all her visions are telling her is, hey, Jon Snow is the guy, not Stannis. And she's just like, yeah, I'm just waiting on to show me Stannis.
Maybe she is, actually, well, no. I mean, she never thinks about Stannis and like she never seems to like be worshipful or in awe of Stannis or anything like that, though. Like that's kind of what's interesting is she's not, she just doesn't really think about him in any like.
But they are just casually fucking, right? Because she's like,
she
my bed hasn't had much use since Stannis has been gone, and I just thought it was the shadow baby thing. That was it.
Oh no, I think they're
that took me by surprise. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's clearly a key part of her Stannis control strategy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someone else should try that. I don't know. Just to keep him out of Davos's arms somehow.
Oh.
Or Jon's, for that matter. I mean, she does have a lot of competition.
Oh, God. He really does have a lot of options. Stannis can be shipped to so many people very easily.
Stannis is the Sansa of the men of Westeros. He really is. He's got a lot of ships. Well, like, I guess his wife, Mel, Jon, and Davos, like, that's quite a few.
Well, nobody's shipping him with his wife.
I know. I feel like I had to throw that in there.
It was very kind of you, Kyle.
There are just not very many Selyse. Well, I feel like there's probably a lot of, like, threesome shippers of Stannis, Selyse, and Melisandre. So throw that in there. Anything else, anyone? This chapter was pretty meaty, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on, you can write us at Close the Door and Come Here. Wait, no, you can't. Okay, this is where you can write us. closethedoorand@gmail.com. You can find us on Tumblr and Facebook at Close the Door and Come Here. You can tweet us at Door Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, all of those fun places. And you can also become our Patreon, where you receive additional benefits like receiving our episodes early. And I am going to close the door. Get out.